Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Ham Nation is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by ICOM. For more information, visit icomamerica.com/hamnation. This is Ham Nation, episode number 101, June 5th, 2013. We present our 100th one show, our special event report. Hello, everybody. This is K9EID, and we're here for program number 101 of Ham Nation, and we're sure glad that you've tuned in and that you are listening on the podcast. We have a couple of very, very nice guests tonight, some good information, and George is over. He couldn't get his torch lit, so he's over trying to get that lit. He'll be here in a minute, so if we see some extra smoke coming from the south, it's George trying to figure it out. He'll be here in just a little bit. Gordon, how's the sun in California today?
It is shining bright. We've been doing outside work because, as all of our listeners and viewers know, this is the VHF weekend, the big contest. So we're getting out all the coax, all the big long boomers, and getting ready for a great VHF contest, 50 megs and up. Back to you, Bob.
You got her happening. We're doing the same. I will be back in Pleasant Hope Friday, so we'll be there for a little bit of fun frolic on 6 and 2 meters, that's for sure. So everybody that's around, be sure and do that. Hey, before we get started, I want to mention something very special. In the St. Louis area, they've got a couple of wonderful clubs. They got a lot of them. But the St. Louis Amateur Radio Club just lost one of its members recently, and it's Helen, W0AKI. Helen got her license when she was 88 years old. And that's when she studied and got it. And she's been a real asset to the club in all the years that she's been doing work. And she got her technician in 2008, and then in 2010 she said that's not good enough, and she upped to general. And she's been really active in the St. Louis Radio Society. We're just so happy to have her. However, she passed away recently, and we're going to miss her voice, her friendship, and she was always there. That was what I noticed about the St. Louis community when Helen became active. And so I just wanted to note everybody that had worked her. Dennis McCarthy did a really good article. It was in March of 2009 in CQ magazine. You might have read it. And so we're very unhappy that we lose our wonderful members of this great society called Amateur Radio. But Helen will be missed. So we'll have to continue on, Gordon, to bring up new people that can take her place. And you're one of the guys doing that. And we're really thankful that all of your teaching and stuff has helped so many. And one of the more youthful members of our Amateur Radio Association has been Megan, K5MEN. She was on recently with us. And what was really great about Megan is that she got very active in weather. Well, Megan got out of college. She graduated. She didn't get kicked out. She's too good for that. She's too good for that. And we've got Megan with us tonight. She has a new job. Hi, Megan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, we're fine, and so happy you could join us for a little bit here because I'm really excited about your job. I'm kind of jealous. My goodness, you know, most people they come out of college and they get a job in like some far off, way off place you got to use donkeys to get to. Man, you ended up in the class job. You ended up in Dallas. You're Channel 11 in Dallas. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I am an intern at Channel 11. I actually haven't graduated yet. I still have one more year, but I am spending the summer with CBS 11 here in Dallas.
Isn't that great? Gordon, you and I don't know, intern did kick us out. What do you think? I mean, we couldn't make that one.
I think that's terrific. We need more hams working with hams on the outside. And Megan, that is just terrific. We know we have hams at the National Hurricane Center. And Megan, are there a lot of hams on staff at the station that you're now working with?
At the station, there's actually not any hams that I know of. We have hams that come in and volunteer during severe weather days, and they are stationed right next to the meteorologist to hand information, and that way we can get it out to the public extremely quick.
Oh, that's terrific, because I know when major storms are coming in, hams can play a very important part in relaying some emergency calls. So hams are part of your operation as well, huh, Megan?
Yes, sir. Those hams can send in information that we can't see by radar and that we can't tell by pictures that people send in. They can tell us if the funnel's actually touching the ground, what kind of damage we're having, and we don't have to wait 5 to 10 minutes to hear it from the weather service or from people sending in pictures.
Oh, that's terrific. And for those legal viewers and listeners, there was an interpretation that in an emergency, as well as a drill once a week, hams can take an active part in disaster preparedness. So we hope that you don't have any twisters soon and that you won't need those ham operators to radio in the reports. Back to you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bob.
I just wonder what part did you play in all of the horrible things that happened in Oklahoma here recently? Were you actively involved in some of that?
The day of the Moore tornado, May 20th, that was actually my first day at my internship. We got reports that there was a tornado coming in. They asked the interns to immediately get on Facebook and Twitter and see if we could find information. Seeing as that is only about 10 minutes north of Norman, I was one of the people that was able to get the most information to our meteorologist at the station. I followed all the storm chasers that were up there. I already had all the meteorologists and news stations in Oklahoma City, and I was able to get information from the Weather Center directly to the meteorologist at the station.
That's really great. Well, we're so happy for you. I've got a few pictures here. Let's run those up a little bit and show people where you're spending your time these days, and you can explain some of these. Go ahead.
This one is actually just the weather and traffic area of the station. The weather area is on the left-hand side. We spend a lot of time on the computers making our graphics and looking at the radars, just trying to make sure everything's up to date for the viewers.
Oh, great.
That's one of our meteorologists. He's working on the radar, just making sure that we don't need to send any information out to the public, making sure there's no storms coming into the area. Our chief meteorologist is the one in the suit. He's just showing the interns his show for the day. I helped build that show. We all helped chip in to put the graphics together. And here I am within the next couple of pictures explaining Ham Nation to him, telling him why I was taking pictures of the station, and we were also discussing some of the weather events that were coming through within the next couple of days.
Oh, that's great. Well, we appreciate seeing your new workplace, and I personally wish you all the success. And I know you're going to have a lot of success. You have great parents that help you and guide you, and all of us here in Ham Nation are proud of you, and we look forward to having you back quite regularly if we can kind of barge into some of your time. But you're going to be a busy girl in Dallas, that's for sure. So,
Yeah.
Gordo, now we know where we can get our weather information firsthand. What do you think?
Oh, I think that's great. And with that great equipment behind her for ham radio, we've got it made in the shade. Thanks so much, Megan, and best success on your internship.
Thank you both.
Okay, well, 7-3, Megan, and be sure and give your regards to your parents. And we'll see you back here on Ham Nation real soon. So watch out for the clouds. That's where it's all happening.
Sounds good. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Gordo.
Okay, that's great. We're so proud of her, and she's made quite a mark for ham radio wherever she goes recently. And we'll have her come back and tell you about some of the activities she's got going there in Oklahoma going on too. Gordo, what's happening in the handy talkie world and all the other things going on in Southern Cal?
Well, as you know, Bob, the big VHF UHF contest is coming up this weekend, 50 megs and above. And a lot of new students that pass through our classes or around the country, one of the most common letters I get from the students via Ham Nation is, what should be my first radio? And I always encourage them to consider a handheld, because a handheld radio can do double duty mobile. A handheld radio can also work quite nicely at home on a big base antenna. They check the different catalogs, and HRO, AES, Universal Radio, they've got these great catalogs, and almost baffled by all of the specifications. But there's one spec that even the catalogs could use some additional explanation, and that is the specification is the handheld a single band unit, either for VHF or UHF, or is it a two-band handheld, which does either VHF or UHF? And that also, the two-band units apply to the incoming Chinese handhelds. They are advertised as dual band, but truly they are one band at a time on reception. The true dual banders, and I've got some from Kenwood and ICOM and Yaesu also, and Alinco, the true dual banders have simultaneous receive. So Brian, if you'll go ahead and run some of those videos, we'll take actually stills. So when you head for the ham store, be thinking ahead of time, what radio for you? And there's our good-looking ham friend at one of the ham stores, ham radio outlet, ready to help you make that decision. Next one, Brian. Now, this is a true dual bander, and dual banders go just beyond two bands. They might offer APRS that you see right here with a Kenwood, as well as Yaesu makes an APRS unit. ICOM also has great capabilities for position finding, and the Chinese handhelds, while they may show two bands at once, you're only going to get reception on one channel or the next one, not true dual band reception. And this is a unit that you don't see a lot of these that were coming in, but they've recently stopped importing them because of, I think, unknown issues. This one does both the 10-meter band as well as the 12-meter band. A pretty unique radio, can work either as a mobile or a battery-operated handheld. You're going to hear about Alinco, and folks, Alinco is fine. It's just that they are separating out from GRE. That happened as of June 1st, so Alinco is fine. Alinco makes both single bander, two banders, as well as dual banders. And Brian, if you'll bring up that next shot, here is the Chinese handheld, and there's nothing wrong with them other than for a new ham, they are tough to program via the radio itself. So if you're out in the field and providing emergency comms, the Chinese handhelds are really not field adjustable unless you really know how to do it. So you would want to get them cloned ahead of time and never have hope of being able to program a new channel. Now, many of these handhelds take quite nicely to the water, but only a few are rated submersible. I wouldn't take them swimming. But the nice thing about some of these two-band handhelds is that most of them offer marine receive on 156 megahertz. So you can tune into the weather band, and if you're near a lake or ocean, you can tune in to the Coast Guard and Marine calls. So your handheld is much like a scanner. And your handheld can also work satellites full duplex if they are dual band. That is simultaneous receive on both bands at the same time. Although Clint Bradford, our satellite man, says he prefers just to hear the downlink and not have his voice do feedback. So when you're ready to head for the ham store and you're ready to check in and check out the latest handheld, get together with those sales personnel because they know their equipment. Tell them how you plan to use it. I like the two-band handhelds the best because when I'm wearing that on my belt and I've got an external speaker microphone, I know which band is giving me the audio. So, Bob, that's my little review of ham radio handhelds. And I want to thank Mike and Art at the Ham Radio Store for helping us show off those great handhelds. And again, dual band, twin receive simultaneously, sometimes double V, double UHF, but it can get confusing with a true dual bander as to which band or which frequency is calling you. So for me, I'll take the two-band handheld, either VHF or UHF, because when I hear a call, I know which band it was for me. Bob, back to you on handhelds.
It's a really interesting subject is handy talkies. You can go out and research these things, and they're so complicated because there's so many of them. But you have to, I think, understand what you want to do first. But you're right. It's great to start there. I don't use one very much because where I am in Pleasant Hope, I'm away from the repeaters. There's none really close to me. And here in Illinois, I'm not here enough anymore. But they certainly come into to really being when you get into weather and stuff, you can go out and help the guys find. And as Megan said, it's the ham radio community that feeds the National Weather Service. I don't think there's enough on the outside world that understand that. How do you feel, Joe, about that, Gordo?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Hams have such an important part. Just 2 weeks ago, the National Hurricane Center had a great all-day test with ham operators. And we know Laura Smith made it clear that hams can't, like every day, feed info to a commercial station for the commercial operation during non-weather events. But during major emergencies, tornadoes on the ground, certainly ham radio can help out. And I was reminded there are tri-band, even quad-band handhelds. But, Bob, you and I being 6-meter buffs, we know that a handheld is going to be tough to access any 6-meter FM repeater with just 3 to 5 watts of power. And if the 222 band is big in your area, that could be a handheld for consideration. But for me, the two-band, one band at a time with all sorts of extraneous receive on VHF, aeronautical, and marine band, that's icing on the cake. Bob,
Absolutely.
back to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we have had such a great month here on Ham Nation. It's almost unbelievable to me that we passed the 100 shows. It seems like just a couple of days ago, Joe Walsh and I, from this very place I am here, I'm back in Illinois, as you can see, but it's got a lot less gear. It seemed to have moved west. But we sat here 100 and some shows ago, 101 with Joe. And to commemorate that, all of these great people that took hold during this past couple of years and made Ham Nation what it's grown to be. And thanks to Leo for starting it. But then it was picked up by a lot of you that make it what it is. The chat room is so helpful. But there's 4 guys that made this thing really happen this past month. And the nucleus of that was the ringleader with the great big necklace of garlic around his neck, and that's WT6H. Hi, Michael. How are you, buddy?
Hey there, Bob, Gordo. How's it going? And hello from Gilroy, California, the garlic capital of the world.
Well, we're so happy to have you on. I wanted to have all 4 of you on last week, but if we had that, then there would, Gordon and I and George had to go. We couldn't be here. So we split it up. Last week we had your compatriarch. So this week we got you and Al back here. Let us know what happened. You guys have a whole bunch of statistics, and Brian's got some slides you can run through with Al. So everybody is really chomping at the bit, wanting to know how many stations, what they are. Go get them. Let us know what's happening, Mike.
Okay. Well, tonight is going to be Ham Nation 101. I would like to thank everybody who participated on the air with the special event. I logged over 1,000 stations and enjoyed hearing all of the wonderful comments from those who I spoke with. We're going to be going back to the regular nets after the show tonight. And really, Al's got all of the numbers. Let's go over to Al with the report with the numbers. Al, are you with us tonight?
Actually, I'm having difficulty getting a hold of Al. If he is listening to the stream right now, if he could accept our other Skype request, I would gladly bring him on. Otherwise, Mike, I might have to hang up on you and try you from a different line.
Okay, whatever it takes.
All right.
Hey, Michael, Gordo here. I want to say that for ham operators, you are the best when you were faced with bandwidth issues operating live at Dayton, and you didn't let it get you down. You did a workaround, and you ended up finally making all sorts of great calls from Dayton. So, Michael, you make it happen, and we so much appreciate you and the other net controllers. Back to you, Garlic Mike.
Well, thanks, Gordo. And, you know, when I first got set up there in the Viasat trailer, there, Speedy, in the morning I was able to make about 15 contacts. And then as all of the ham started flooding into Hera at 9 o'clock, and the bandwidth dropped down lower and lower until I didn't have any signal at all and was unable to use the remote rig. However, we were able to get on the air from the KOA campgrounds and made many, many contacts. Not just with the remote rig, but also with from Al's trailer there, and the buddy pole on 40 meters and his off-center fed dipole on 20 meters. So we did make a lot of contacts from Dayton, and I kept going on the road with the remote rig, also operating from Cleveland and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame there, and over in New York. So I spent 8 days using remote rig, and I must say it worked well. Made over 600 contacts on the road. And of course, the final night, almost did 300 contacts the final night there and worked until midnight with DX calling over the pole from Europe. And I tell you, there was this pile up now that I couldn't believe of Europeans wanting to get in, calling and calling. And I said, I'm done, my call has expired. So was unable to carry on with that. But over 1,000 in the log here at W6H.
That's amazing. And we really can understand that bandwidth issue. A lot of guys that have never operated at Dayton, it's amazing. There's so many radios there, transmitters, receivers going. It's just awful to try to get out of there. So congrats to you to work around all of that. Did you get Al going yet? Is Al with us?
We've got Al. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hey.
Come
Too
on,
many
Al.
buttons. I got lost here. I think I'm connected.
Oh, Al, you look just great. And Al, your signal from the East Coast comes barreling in all the way to Southern California. Thanks so much for being also one of our great net controllers. Over to you, Al.
Hi, Gordo. Yeah, we had a wonderful time with the special event. And when it was over, I kind of stayed up late and analyzed some of the numbers and crunched some of them down. And I do have some slides. When you're ready, if you'd like to take a look at them, I can tell you about some of the numbers, the statistics, the stations we worked, who we talked to. And I think a lot of people might find it interesting.
You know what, Bob? I'm having trouble finding these slides.
Oh, good grief.
Sorry about that.
Grief.
What were they exactly? Because I've got my email open here, but I don't see it.
Yeah, I sent them to you. Al, give us some of those numbers. How many stations did you work?
Well, that's a good question. I can't give you the exact numbers, but I'm not sure that I can even show you the slides from here. We worked approximately a total of 2,500 stations between the 4 special event stations.
Wow.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. We worked all 50 states.
Whoa.
I believe we worked 41 countries.
Whoa.
And I had some other fun statistics. If you find the slides, you can have a look at them. I analyzed it by name, by zip code. We also have some coverage maps in those JPEGs that I sent you. That what I did was I put a push pin with every zip code that we all talked to, and I broke it down by special event station so you could see who it was and where we talked. There were about, and I can't remember exact numbers without seeing the slides up on the screen, but approximately 440, 450 stations who qualified for the certificate out of the odd 2,500 stations that we worked. In addition to that, if we looked at people who only worked 3 of the stations, there are only 190 of them. So what that showed was it's really quite an achievement if you worked all 4 stations.
Wow.
And yeah, on 20 meters the other night, somewhere around 11 o'clock, we were working Asiatic Russia, all of Europe, all of the United States, South America, out to Hawaii and into the Pacific to Australia and New Zealand all at the same time. The band was wide open. And we just had a great time. Now, one of the interesting things was I and Mike had the same experience. I talked to stations in Algeria, in Poland, in Russia, who watch Ham Nation. And they all wanted to comment on it. So, yeah, it's too bad you don't have the slides. But,
one of the things that I can tell you is the bottom line of this. You guys made 2,493 contacts. You worked all 50 states, including Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Yes. You made 1,975 different zip codes.
Yes.
You worked 41 countries, which is a DXCC entity, of course. You managed 8 Canadian provinces. And you worked 441 stations that worked all 4 of you guys and qualified for the certificate. Now, there's the thing that a lot have been asking about. There were 441 stations that worked all 4 of you, so they qualify for the certificate. 190 stations worked at least 3 of the special event stations. And, of course, last but not least, everybody had a great time. And so we're so thrilled that it turned out so well. And you guys had so much to do. Your coordination of all this, Bill, K5LN, K0HYD, and you 2 guys are just incredible at making things happen. And, boy, did you make it happen. So we're so happy that really, I think it was Mike's idea to came up with this, but it doesn't make any difference which one. It's the team of all 4 of you guys that made it happen. And so we're excited, very excited that that you're going to be able to get this card to everybody. And we'll next week we'll have a picture of the card and all that, and some information of what they can do to get it. If a copy of it, we're going to try to make a another situation with that they could maybe get the card. So I'm working with Petaluma on that. But boy, the card is beautiful, and you guys just did a stellar job. And now you're back to doing nets, just good old nets after the show, which are pile-ups in themselves, Michael. Every time you listen to you guys net, it's like, uh-oh. So congratulations on getting quite a following in your nets. And you guys will all maintain the same frequency. Is that right, Mike?
Yes, we'll be back on 7272 plus or minus tonight, and on 20 meters right around 14,268 tonight, starting right after the show. So tune on in, and we will be listening for you.
Okay. Well, personally, I want to thank you guys for all the time that you spent doing this. And it was such a great thing to listen to all of you. And Gordo, what we have to do is find out about this illegal antenna that Al has. It's got to be an illegal antenna. I know he's got a legal amplifier. What is it, Gordo? How do you make an illegal antenna, you know?
Well, he probably exceeded the above 200-foot elevation before FCC blessing. So, Al, we'll have your still shots next week. So fear not, we'll get them on and we'll look at those push pins. So next week, Al, we'll see the rest of your story. And to all of our valued net controllers that made this great event possible, thank you. Back to you, Bob.
Okay. Well, 7-3 to you guys, and I'm going to fire up the old rig here in Illinois. I won't have the firepower here that I have in Petaluma, in Pleasant Hope, but we'll make it happen, and we'll see if we can get in there tonight. But thanks very much, and everyone here at Ham Nation, thank you for everything that you did to make this thing work, and we'll be back to the nets, and who knows, Michael, you'll come up with some kind of special thing going on this year. I know you will. You won't stop here. So thank you very much, Mike, and we appreciate it. Okay, man?
Thank you, Bob. And definitely we'll start planning on the next big event. Not sure what it is here. This one we've been planning almost a year in the making to make this happen. Thanks, guys. And again, we'll be listening on 40 meters tonight. WT6H is clear. Back to you, Bob.
All right, Al, we'll see you on the air after a while, so you get out there and fire that thing up or crank that tower up. Okay, look at that. There you go. All right. Nice hat. Nice hat. That's great.
You know, there's one quick interesting statistic. I broke it down by license class. Do you know that the greatest number of stations we talked to were extra class? That's really something, I think.
Wow, extras. All right. Well, yeah. They've been studying Gordon's book, and if you study Gordon's book, you can get the extra. It's not that difficult. So that's great. Well, we'll get all the stats for you, and we appreciate you being on tonight. And get back and fire things up so we can work you all after a while. And I appreciate what you did, man. You take care.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
73.
That was just an amazing thing that they did. Just amazing, and just to think of all of the different things that they have done during the last month to make that happen, and we bless them for all of their work. Well, we're going to see about getting some news in here. Don has got Newsline fired up, so let's see what Newsline has for us this week in amateur radio.
Radio Newsline Report, number 1868. These are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, June 5th, 2013. Kevin Odell, N0IRW, the ARRL Oklahoma section manager, tells Newsline that amateur radio emergency service operators have been released from assisting the American Red Cross with communications during their response to the Moore, Oklahoma tornado recovery. Odell says that all ARES volunteers were released from scheduled duty and have returned to volunteer status. He noted that some 25 local hams volunteered their help, along with over 15 out-of-state radio operators who also offered their services. Of course, with the latest round of tornadoes this past weekend, it's a good bet that many of those were called back into duty. 18 more people, including 3 professional storm chasers, lost their lives in the most recent set of tornadoes in and around the Oklahoma City area Friday night. More information can be found at the Oklahoma ARES website. You'll find that at aresok.org. 2 hams have been rescued from a flooded campground thanks to their hobby. Skeeter Nash, N5ASH, picks up the story.
Sunday morning, May 19th, at about 4:40 a.m., Eric Heaton, KF4LJN, and Henry Miller, N4VG, were awakened by a flooding situation at Lake Chinnabee in Munford, Alabama, east of Birmingham. The two had been camping when Miller noticed water getting into his tent. Miller and Heaton moved their cars several times to stay above the flood line. They soon realized that the only road out of the area was submerged in 2 to 3 feet of water and impassable. So Miller made contact with a ham in Talladega, Alabama, over the Mount Cheaha 147.69/.09 repeater. That ham in turn notified authorities of the 2 trapped radio amateurs. The Cleburne County Sheriff's Rescue Squad was dispatched, and both Heaton and Miller were soon brought to safety by boat. There was very poor cell phone coverage in the area, but thanks to ham radio, everyone is safe.
After the apparent final demise of the Heathkit Company last year, hams on several websites are now reporting that they were surprised to learn of a new consumer survey from whoever now owns the Heathkit Company name. Again, Skeeter Nash, N5ASH.
The fairly lengthy online survey asks responders to relate what is important to them, their kit building interests, their thoughts about the many vintage Heath kits, and their interest, if any, in amateur radio. It also requests thoughts and ideas about Heathkit while offering the opportunity to sign up to join a mailing list. The opening page instructions note that customer privacy is very important to them. As such, they do not release personally identifying customer information outside the company, as explained in its privacy policy. Also, those responding to the survey can choose which questions that they wish to answer.
And finally this week, Amateur Radio Newsline wraps up its coverage of the Dayton Hamvention. Go to our website to download and listen to the complete audio of this week's newscast. That's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news, brought to you each and every week for 35 years and counting at www.arnewsline.org. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW 73. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation.
Well, good evening, everyone. Look what I got. How you like that, huh?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yep. I was one of the lucky ones, so I'm very happy. And yeah, all 4 of those net control guys just did a bang-up job. So congratulations to those guys. Let's talk about ICOM a little bit.
K2BSA, the official radio station for the National Office of the Boy Scouts of America, will be very active in July. Next month is the 2013 National Scout Jamboree. Don't just be a contact, be an ambassador to this incredible hobby. Amateurs operating the K2BSA stations will receive a commemorative powered by ICOM K2BSA QSL card. Talk to the Scouts and share the magic of amateur radio. The National Jamboree takes place over 10 days from July 15th through 24th. The event is held once every 4 years. This year's event will be held at the Summit Bechtel Reserve in West Virginia. This summit is the new permanent home of the Jamboree. This year, K2BSA and Chairman Jim Wilson, K5ND, will be live at the summit. 4 ICOM 7200s, 2 9100s, and 1 7600 will be engaged in HF demonstrations. Satellite communication and a contact with the International Space Station are also scheduled. 3 ICOM 2820s will monitor the repeaters Echolink and D-Star. Go to K2BSA's Jamboree Live webpage for on-the-air frequencies and information on how to engage with K2BSA while on the site www.k2bsa.net/jamboree-live. ICOM is the exclusive amateur radio transceiver and repeater supplier for the 2013 Jamboree. Check out the K2BSA website at www.k2bsa.net for updates on the 2013 National Scout Jamboree. And make sure you visit ICOM America's website at www.icomamerica.com/National Scout Jamboree for additional BSA information.
The radios of choice, of course, are the IC 7200. Those are in the 10 Boy Scout JADA kits that they lend out. Digital flexibility, excellent receiver performance, ICOM's legendary DSP technology. Also try out the 7600, the 2820H, and D-Star during the event, too. Go to the K2BSA website. That's www.k2bsa.net. You'll find all the updates for the 2013 National Jamboree. And also go to icomamerica.com/hamnation. Learn how you can win the monthly grand prize drawing for the free radio. Go to icomamerica.com/hamnation. All the rules are there. Check out all the previous winners. Sign up for the swag. And if you're interested in seeing some of the videos from Dayton, All of the live streaming videos are there. So when you sign up for the swag, just put on there in the notes that you would like the links to the live videos from Dayton, and they will send those to you. So, of course, go there and good luck. And George, now I think you have some information more on the main prize for this month, right?
I sure do, Don. This month we've got a nice prize. You know, the May winner was I don't have the name here because I didn't get it from ICOM, but they won an IC V8000. And for June, we've got 4 opportunities for you to register after each episode of Ham Nation. ICOM's going to be giving away an ICOM ID 880H dual band VHF UHF mobile with D-Star. It's got wideband receiver, free cloning software, 500 watts of output on both VHF and UHF, a weather channel receive with weather alert, built-in noise filters, and much more. So go to icomamerica.com/hamnation. Throw your name in the hat after the show this week and every week. So, would y'all like to do a little smoke and solder now?
Yeah, I'm for it.
Absolutely.
It's time. Let her go.
Okay, well, let's roll. We've been building on our AM/FM radio kit for several weeks now, and we've just completed the AM section. Now it's time to do the final alignment. And for that, we're going to need some special tools. However, fear not, if you don't have test equipment, there is a way to do this without it. The first thing we're going to need is a magic wand. And I don't have one. Fortunately, they supplied all the parts we need here with the kit. That's a piece of heat shrink, and a piece of brass, and a piece of iron core. And what we need to do is insert each one of these pieces of metal in one end of the heat shrink, and then take a soldering iron and heat that tubing down where it will hold that core in place. I got a little solder there on it. Now let's do the iron core. And those two seem to be in place now. And what are we going to do with this? Well, it's used to help tune the antenna. There are 2 different AM alignment procedures. The first procedure is for those who don't have test equipment, and the second is for those who do. So we'll do the without test equipment. We should turn L5, T6, 7, and 8 all the way counterclockwise till the slug reaches the top. Don't try to go any further than that, though, because you'll break it. Once they're at the top, we need to turn them clockwise 1 1/4 to 1 1/2 turns. Now we need to set the AM antenna coil till it's about 1/8 inch from the end of the ferrite rod. And I've already done that. It's about 1/8 inch sticking out. Now we turn on the power and adjust the volume to a comfortable level, and then turn the dial until a weak station is heard. Now, once we've got that done, we should tune T6 until we've got the station as strong as we can get it. Well, we were already pretty close on that. Next, we'll adjust L7 until the station is its loudest. Now that's as far down as the coil will go, and that is the loudest, so I'm not going to try to force it any further. Now adjust T8 until the station is the loudest. And I would say about right there. Well, it's nighttime and it's really noisy in here. So I'm going to take this outside and go through my alignment out there and hope for better results. I'll take the camera and we'll just see how it picks up. Now let's see if we can find a weaker station out here.
Is grounded to second. He is.
Now here's a weaker station. So let's try it.
Southwest 410 westbound at Ingram Road. A minor fender bender also still in the clearing stages on Southwest 410 and Old Pearsall Road. Watch out for a serious crash at Ritterman Road and North Foster. And a minor wreck at West Bitters and Blanco. I'm Nikki Whaley in the SA Children's Orthopedic.com Traffic Center.
We'll have partly cloudy skies for tonight. Very humid, mid-70s, and a little breezy. Clouds in the morning on Saturday, sun in the afternoon, hot and humid, highs in the mid-90s. Then we can see a straight show.
All right, it's WOAI in San Antonio. We're getting a little skywave fading on it, so probably not the best test. Now, our next procedure here calls for us to tune the AM dial to a known station near 600 kilohertz. Well, I just happen to know that there is a 620 not too far away from here. I'm in the null of the directional antenna pattern at night, but I used to work for this station, so I know I can pick it up here somewhat.
From ABC News. A violent storm system is spinning.
Actually, I pick it up pretty good here. All right, we hear what they're playing there. Now we should calibrate the dial to be about 620 kilohertz. That's about 620 kilohertz there. Now we tune inductor L5 until we hear that station again.
The ones that'll have to go to work tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
It's the single worst loss of life for the 118-year-old Houston Fire Department.
And now what we need to do is tune down to a station near 1400, and we'll do the same procedure, but this time we'll adjust a trimmer here on the gained capacitor. We have a station here that I know is on 1300. Our dial is off a little bit from that, so let's tune it to where we're sitting about 1300. Now I've looked at the drawings in the book and determined that this one right here is the AM oscillator trimmer, so that's the one we need to adjust to find our desired station again. All right, there's our station. Now we go back and we repeat the procedure several times until we've got the best signal on everything. Now we've tuned the radio to our station on 620, and we're going to use this magic wand. We put the brass in near the antenna coil. If the signal increases, this means we need dust inductance, which means that we would slide the coil off of the ferrite rod some. Now we'll do the same thing with the iron core. I don't really hear any difference. If we did, though, if the signal got stronger, that would mean we need more inductance, so we would slide the coil more over the ferrite rod. I really don't see any difference, so possibly we've got it in the right spot to begin with. Now we tune to our station down around 1400, which in my case was 1300.
A shot to lead off the second.
And we try the same test, starting with the brass core. Not noticing any change there, let's move to the iron core. Not noticing any change there either, so it could be these stations are just too strong for this test. So that's it. We've got it aligned without test equipment, and if we tune up and down the band, we can hear we're passing through a lot of stations here. So it appears that the radio's working. I'm not going to show the alignment using test equipment. There's just not time for that this week. But I did want to show you how to manually do it for those who don't have test equipment, which I think is probably a fairly good number. So if you do have test equipment, just follow the procedures in the book. My RF generator won't do 80% modulation, so it would be a little difficult for me to exactly duplicate the steps that are in the book. But I will do them off camera here just to peek my radio out. And there you go. Now in the future, we'll be working on the FM radio portion of this kit, and we hope you'll enjoy that as well. If you'd like to build along, you can get the kit from parts-express.com. It's part number 320-084. So we've got the AM radio working now, and we're going to take a break for 2-3 weeks and do some other things before we get back on the FM section there, just to kind of break it up a little bit. And a project that I've got coming up soon, some of you may want to check out, and that is the TNC Pi kit. It's a little TNC terminal node controller that you can use with a Raspberry Pi. And this comes from Coastal Chipworks. And if you'd like to learn more about that, then go to tnc-x.com, and you can find out about the different models of TNCs and projects that they have there. We're going to be building one for the Raspberry Pi, though. So that's probably 2-3 weeks, and we'll start on that. Now, last week, Bob, we announced a special prize for this week's contest. Do you want to tell them who the winner was, or do you want me to?
Well, first of all, for those that missed it, we had a real special prize, and that was a PR40 for the 100th show. But the special part was Joe signed it. Joe Walsh signed this one of the last shows that we did with him. He couldn't be here, as you remember, last week. But there he is signing this microphone. And I was very, very excited to be able to do that. Joe is so giving of his time when I'm with him, both working with him as well as just playing ham radio. George, tell them how we arrived, or you arrived at the winner. There were a lot of them. Give them the details on this. This is very interesting how you did that.
Yeah, we wanted something a little different this time around, but something that was kind of related to the prize being given away. So our question was, Bob and Joe had talked previously about working amateur radio from the rear of the bus back in the early days, and we wanted to know what radio they were using when they did that. Bob, we had a lot of answers on this, and most of them were right, but a few were guessing things that I just don't think were a possibility back then, like an IC 7000 and, some of those. But what were y'all using?
We were using an Atlas 210. And the company's not even around anymore, but it was a cute little radio. There's another thing. It was very small for those days, and that's what we had, was an Atlas 210. By the way, Joe still has it. Yeah.
Wow. That's something. Well, we had only one winner, of course, and we just went through the winning entries there and picked a random number. And the lucky winner happened to be Greg Keys, AK4LK. So congratulations, Greg. You're going to have a real treasure on your hands there. And Bob, the worst thing about these contests is that I can't win any of this stuff.
You and I both. Yeah. Gordo, did you know the significance of the award, in that the winner is going to have a PR40, and he's going to have it specially signed? And we're so excited for him. How about that for a nice 100th anniversary gift? That's pretty cool, isn't it, Gordo?
Oh, I think that's wonderful. And, our winner must have gone back to the good old days, because the Atlas 210 and 215, that was quite a great radio for maritime mobile, because it could run without tubes. That was one of the first transistorized small rigs from Swan Cubic. So it was a keeper. And I hope you still have, or he has, or someone has, that 210.
Yeah, he does. I think he's got a couple of them now, so that's cool. Well, I brought it with me to Illinois. I packed it very carefully, and we'll send it off to Greg tomorrow. And George, I got a letter or an email from him yesterday. Would you like to know where Greg was born? Did you hear this story, George?
I did, and that's kind of amazing. We did not know this when we picked him as a winner, but tell him where he was born.
Well, you picked them random. You put all the possibility that some of the guys got, of course, the right answer, and you have a random thing that the computer does. Greg was born in Pleasant Hope, Missouri.
Oh, wow.
Population 614. I guess it would be population 615 if he was still there. But I'm going to try next week to have him on for a couple of minutes, or at least after he gets the microphone. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah,
so,
it's a shame he moved. You could have just handed it to him.
I could have given it. Yeah, I could have given him. Yeah, Sarah was all thrilled. I called her today. She's down at Pleasant Hope. I called her today because Greg went to say hello to her at Dayton. And how about that? He won. Oh, that's great. Well, we're so happy, and we're happy for all the winners, and that's great. Now, you have another contest, or we got them all done today?
Well, I do, Bob. Let's run through this real quick. I've got a prize for next week. And I know this is one that you really like. It's a subscription to the Electric Radio magazine, the magazine with all the vintage radio equipment in it, celebrating a bygone era. Great little magazine. And if you'd like to win that, then here's my question. This comes from the General Radio Amateur General Question Pool. When is it acceptable to recharge a carbon zinc primary cell? That means just a carbon zinc battery, like maybe a D cell. A, as long as the voltage has not been allowed to drop below 1 volt. B, when the cell is kept warm during the recycling period. C, when a constant current charger is used. And D, never. So send your best answer to me at hamnationcontest@gmail.com, and you could win a subscription to Electric Radio magazine. And also, this is the last week that you can enter that other ICOM test we've got going on, where we're going to give away this IC 7200 with a custom shop paint job from Gigaparts. Also, power supply from MFJ, the MFJ Big Ear portable antenna here that has two 18-foot whips on it, some coax cable, and we've also got a Heil Sound ProSet 3 that'll be part of that package. If you want to enter that, you have not done so already, because like all of the contests that I do, you can only enter once. So to find out more about it, just go over to amateurlogic.tv/contest and get out the official rules there. But you've got to be entered by Saturday to be eligible. And that's all I've got to give away this week, Bob.
Well, we have more coming. I sent you a bunch of stuff today, some MFJ stuff that came to me and so on. By the way, all of you listening to me, please get into electric radio. This is an amazing little microphone and a magazine. One of the things that I love about this is there are things that you find no place else. Here's a whole section on how to replace a switch in the 30L1. Now, a lot of you, well, I don't have a 30L1. Well, it'll help you for other amplifiers and stuff, too. Very great pictorials. But the thing about electric radio is the history. It goes back into some of the World War II things of stations and how they did it. I love it. Ray's doing such a good job, and it's not expensive. Electric radio. And speaking of that, next week is really going to be one of those shows that people have to calm me down when we start talking about Wes Shum. He was my great mentor, and we're going to have next week the Wes Shum story, so to speak, on this thing with Nick Tusa, and of course George Meyer will be back. Now, if you missed that, go back as homework. Go back and look at the show back a few shows ago about the history of single sideband. Be sure you watch that, because next week they're going to tell you a little more about it, but we're going to talk about Field Day. And I've had a lot of people ask me, what are you going to do for Field Day? Well, I love Field Day. This year, I am going to be like a 12-year-old kid let loose in a candy store, because I get to go, and you can too. You can join us. We're going to Wes Shum's farm property down in Jonesboro, Tennessee. He is the guy that brought single sideband to amateur radio. Just think about this. What a powerhouse this gentleman was. And he, of course, then started Central Electronics, which is, I continue to say, it was my college education. Building that 20A. I built a 10A, and then I built the 20A that always sits behind me. It's down in Pleasant Hope. And these things are just absolutely and just wonderful. Well, for Field Day, we get to be there with the guy that brought sideband to us all, working outside with, guess what? Central Electronics 20As, 600Ls, all of his wonderful gear, the 1940s and 50s. And I'm telling you, it is going to be wonderful. So next week, you'll hear all about it. QST has a great story about this coming up attraction, and you guys can join us. So come on down. They're going to have tailgating and everything else. And Gordo, you should come with us. You would have a ball. You would have a ball if you joined us. Can you imagine being at West Chums? Whoa.
Wow. Well, I'll try and work you for Field Day, and maybe even work you on 6 meters and 2 meters and 440 and 1.2. I've got it all in here with the ICOM 9100. So it's going to come off the shelf here and head for the VHF contest this weekend. And then we'll use it again along with some Kenwood 990 products for Field Day. So thanks to Wes for bringing us single sideband.
Isn't that great? Well, we'll look for you. Well, next week, the guys will let you know the calls and some of the frequencies and so on. We'll have them on next week. Well, that's just super duper. Well, I think it's time for us to swing the old camera around to Northern Illinois and see what's going on in the chat room. How are you, Cheryl?
Hi, Bob. How are you doing tonight? Doing just great. It looks like the chat room's been pretty busy. And I'm so glad you're going to have a great time at Field Day. That is such a great event. And that person that discovered all that they're going to be there, that is just terrific. Hi, Gordo. Hi, George. Hi, Don. And hi to Bill out in California, too. And Megan, so good to have you on the show. It was really great. I loved your piece. And as usual, George does a great, great job. So let's get started here. How about that? We've got someone for George, W1RJC. It's interesting because it's kind of about your jingle at the beginning of your segment there, George. So he asked, what are the letters being sang in the jingle at the beginning of Smoke and Soldered? Would you happen to know that? I'm kind of like jingle oriented myself, so it sounded like a good question.
Actually, that one was pretty simple. W5JDX. You know, I used to work at WJDX. So I just found a 5 to slip in there.
Great. That's good. Well, that's perfect, isn't it? So we'll go on to our next question here. I think Gordo, I have this question. He's still online with us. Yes, Gordo, are you there?
Let me check. Yeah, looks like him.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
You ran away one time, and I was thinking you were still there. I just want to make sure. I want you to cover this question because I don't think Don is online due to the limited amount of feeds. They have a lot of them, but not enough for everybody. So AB1TA Claudius asks, can you find information on getting the ICOM JOTA set up for our Boy Scout troop? Where would you recommend that Claudius goes?
Okay, log on to the ICOM site. By the way, today or tomorrow is Ray Novak's birthday. So happy birthday, Ray. But that's where I get all of my information is I go on to the ICOM site, and she should be able to find it all right there.
Yay.
Perfect. Excellent. All right, then. I am going to just ask George real quickly. George, did you mention on the show Gina, who won the ICV 8000? Ray N9JA asked that in the chat room, so I just didn't know. Did you get a chance to mention Gina at all?
No, I did not. I had sent an email over, and I had looked earlier today, but it wasn't posted on the website yet, and I never got a reply back before the show. But if you have that information, tell us who won that V8000 sport.
Certainly, I'd be glad to do that. Gina, KD7GEC, congratulations on winning the ICOM V8000. By the way, is a great radio, 75 watts. I had that very radio for my first mobile, actually, and it really does a fine, fine job, so I'm sure you'll really like that. And I just wanted to get that out there on the air. Thank you, ICOM, for providing the gift. All right. Also, a comment for you from VE3 MIC Mike. There's some people that like to clown around a little bit, and he says, George, in your segment, Was that an edible oil product? I couldn't resist. Go ahead.
I think we're probably talking about the discussion going on in the chat room. We were discussing RF grease, and I think that is what he's referring to. And yes, it makes a great dessert topping too.
Thank you.
Don't try this at home.
And Bob, where are you tonight? Skeeter N5ASH says, it doesn't look like your old shack in Illinois, and it doesn't look like the new place in Missouri either. So is there someplace different that you are?
Well, all of this stuff that was here is gone. It's in Pleasant Hope in a new console. No, I'm in the old Illinois station where Ham Nation started with Joe Walsh, not knowing where we were going with this after Leo said, let's do it. And here we are back again for a number I thought it was appropriate for 101. We'll start her off or give it. No, I'm back in Illinois. And on my little lappy top, but I've been here all week because I'm working on a bunch of new projects. One of them, so prototypes are always fun. This is one that Sarah's been working on, believe it or not. But nope, we're doing a bunch of things back in Illinois, and we'll be back in Pleasant Hope over the weekend. And we'll see you there next week when we bring the West Shum story to you again.
And do we have time for one more question for you, Bob?
Yep.
Okay, we have Greg out there, W7HRC. He says he needs a little information. Last week you had mentioned there was a link that Bob and Leo talked about how he got into the sound gig. It was on another program before Ham Nation. Anyone still have that link? Does that sound like something you might know about? Sound gig.
No. I know. And
Okay.
I've done thousands of sound gigs, so I don't know what they were talking about. I don't know.
Okay. Well, we try. We always try to please everybody, but we don't always have it.
That's right.
But in the very last question, speaking of prototypes, Christian KD0STH says, are you working on a PR-45 microphone? So you take it with that, and that will be the final. Go ahead, Bob.
I don't know. We never know. Naming products is the most difficult thing I do. We do at the plant, so I don't know. We are working on a bunch of stuff, but we'll see what happens from here. But thank you very much for all the chat room, and thanks to the chat room for being there. It's such a vital part of what we do here. And I appreciate you checking it all out for us, Cheryl, because we're not able to watch it as Gordo and George and Don and I are doing our other things. So thank you for doing that. And we'll check you on 3850 or 3847, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay.
On with 200 watts on the ICOM 7800 and does a really fine job. So we'll be looking for you out there. And thank you, Bob and Gordo and George and Don and everybody at TWIT. And thanks for everybody in the chat room and the podcast listening. I love interfacing with you guys, and have a great evening. And we'll see you next time on Ham Nation. Take care. 73.
Okay, very good. Gordo, one thing we have going next week will be Dale Puckett. Dale, K0HYD, is going to take over a position of the pictures and the videos. And so he's going to be on next week to explain what he'd like to do and how we want to format. I want to try to get more involved with the audience and their pictures and their videos. So we'll have a special address for them, and Dale will be on next week with us, and we'll get that going, Gordo. So we'll get things going for the old videos and pictures and stuff like that. So I think that's about wraps it up here, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you later. D-Star and Dewdrop, they all going tonight. George, you got that all happening?
Yes, Tom Samasico, KB4HQA, is going to have the D-Star net going on Reflector 14, Module C. And the Dewdrop in net is on Star, Dewdrop in Star. That's the Echo Link conference. It's node number 355800, and I think, 40 meters is going to be on 7.272, and 20 meters on 14.268. 7.3, everyone.
Okay, very good. And we'll see you all right back here at the same place next week. Of course, I won't be in the same place, but we'll be on your dial next week. Good old Ham Nation. And there they come.
Post-show net here. This is the Ham Nation 40-meter post-show net. QSL.
You're 10 over 9 in Tula Lake, Northern California.
There we go. Good stuff. All right. 7-3, everybody. From K9EID. We'll see you next week.